Preparations are now in top gear for the conduct of primary elections of the All Progressives Congress in Ogun State. Party leaders and members at an expanded State Executive Committee meeting agreed to consensus primaries and indirect primaries elections in the event that consensus fails in the state. The party also renewed its commitment to maintaining peace and order at all elections.
It will be recalled that on the 5th day of September 2018, the State Executive Committee, at its meeting held at the Metro's residences, Abeokuta, Ogun State, agreed and passed two major resolutions. A, that the All Progressive Congress, Ogun State, shall have a consensus primary for all elective positions for the 29 general elections. B, that where consensus fails, a direct primary will be used to choose candidates for such positions.
The Presidential Committee, set up to study the cause of the recent earth tremor in Abuja, has identified indiscriminate sinking of boreholes as the major problem. The committee, while submitting its report to the Minister of Science and Technology in Abuja, recommends that the government enforces a strict regulation of hydrogeological activities in Abuja. Residents of Mbappe and Jahi district in the Federal Capital Territory experienced tremors between September 5th and 7th this year, making the federal government set up an interagency committee to investigate the situation.
Residents of Mbappe and Jahi district in Abuja were very worried after they experienced excessive earth tremor between September the 5th and 7th this year. Although it is not the first time that residents in Mbappe and Jahi are facing such minor quake, the panic that trailed the recent experience led to the setting up of a presidential committee on the 13th day of September this year to investigate the situation and come up with practical recommendations.
I present to you a report on the Abuja 5th to 7th earthquake.
1 week after the committee was inaugurated, members are here to present their findings and recommendations to the Minister of Science and Technology. The committee identifies unregulated hydrogeological activities as the reason behind the recent tremor in Abuja.
There's a need to regulate exploitation of groundwater resources of Abuja via indiscriminate sinking of boreholes, because this has been the primary reason for the stress build-up leading to Abuja tremors of 5th to 7th September 2018.
This is not the first time that reports about tremor in various parts of the country is being presented to the federal government. Julius Berger conducted seismic investigations and presented its report to the federal government in 1978. Recently, too, similar reports from Kaduna, Oyo and Bayelsa State were also presented in 2016.
They have worked very hard.
The Minister of Science and Technology assures the committee that government will take necessary steps to protect lives and properties.
We will not stop at this, the work of this committee. We will continue until we have all the answers and also develop the appropriate response on the basis of data that is available to us.
Although Nigeria has never experienced a major quake, findings from the recent tremors witnessed in Abuja, Kaduna, Bayelsa and Oyo states between 2016 and now reveals that some parts of the country are now prone to seismic hazards. Hence, the urgent need for the government to take necessary steps to address the situation before it is too late.
Let's take a further look at this issue. Joining me live from our Abuja studio is the Director, Center for Geodesy and Geodynamics of the National Space Research and Development Agency, Dr. Tahir Yakubu. Dr. Yakubu, thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much for having me.
Initially, the incident was blamed on mining activities around the area in Abuja. Now we're being told it's borehole activities. What exactly is the cause of that tremor?
Yeah, actually, when you look at it, based on the first findings, most people are looking at it that the quarry activities, which are blasting, might have caused the tremor. But then we look at it that there is no much substantial activity of quarrying in this part of Nigeria that will have aggravated that to that length. And based on our findings from the information on our seismographs, we discovered that it is actually tremors, which is quite different from blasting. The activity of blasting can only aggravate the tremors, but it's not substantial here enough to cause tremors. But withdrawal of water and no commensurate recharge can be a major source of tremor, which, based on our analysis, will be the major culprit here. Even though the faults that exist in that area has not been monitored for a long time, if there is a report confirming that Pape is sitting on a weak zone since 1978, we need to have monitored that. But we are just getting those information. And now we will set up monitoring scheme to evaluate the fracture system that is existing in that area with a view to developing a master plan for checking the menace of earthquake in those areas.
Well, if this is a natural occurrence, there's quite little anyone can do about it if that really is the case. But in view of the explanations given on the incident in Abuja and the ones you have said, then is it right to conclude that the issue of an earthquake is not a possibility in that area?
No, it is a possibility because it's not only now the withdrawal of the water that is causing it. The Pape itself is sitting on a fracture zone, which is already weak. So the chances of tremor in that area already exist. And when we look at it again, the one that happened in Koi, Kaduna State, is not too far away from this place. And we are looking at it, there must be an existing fault line that is connecting the two. So a detailed geological measurements need to be carried out for us to establish the linkage.
Dr. Tahir Yakubu, I wish we could go on. I do have a lot of questions, but thanks again for joining us on the News at 10. Dr. Tahir Yakubu, the Director, Center for Geodesy and Geodynamics of the National Space Research and Development Agency. Well, back to election preparations. As the 2019 elections draw near, journalists have been asked to renew their commitment to the journalistic pillars of truth, fairness and balance, especially with the spread of half-truth initiated by political gladiators whose stock in trade is to manipulate the media. The advice was given by the chairman of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria and chairman Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, at its 70th General Assembly in Abuja. The theme for this year's event is election coverage and responsible journalism. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
The spread of half-truths and sometimes outright fake news are just a few of the dangers journalists today contend with. And as the elections draw closer, the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria says journalists must put the interest of the people and the nation above compromise and partisanship.
You may be seated.
At its 70th General Assembly, Chairman of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria and Chairman CEO of Channels Media Group sees this as an opportunity for all members of the media to reflect on how to serve the audience and the country.
That one word, responsibility, should be the beacon for media managers, editors, reporters, presenters, and the whole media value chain. Responsibility connotes objectivity, it connotes fairness, decorum, finesse, patriotism, sacrifice, balance, truth, and trust. I will recommend one or all of the following codes to journalists: the Nigerian Media Code on Election Coverage, the NBC Code on Election Reporting, and the Global Journalistic Code.
For veteran broadcaster Professor Tony Iradia in his address at the event, journalists must be committed to the truth and meet the required expectation for media coverage during elections.
Are we following the ethical values of the profession? Ethical values are things we all know: decency, fairness, objectivity, and so on. But the most important of them is truth. Because if something is true, really, there's no need for you to bother about what happens to it. Even when you are taken to court, truth is an absolute defense to defamation. There are different types of reporting. We have general reporting, we have scheduled reporting, we have roving reporting. But the best for election is specialized reporting, because election is a special assignment that requires those who have the knowledge of subject matter to be put on a political desk to cover the elections and all that concerns elections from the beginning to the end.
Representing the Vice President of Nigeria at the event was Senator Babafemi Ojudu, and while declaring the event open, described the media as the watchdog of the society and urged them not to allow themselves become tools for causing divisions in the country.
As a major stakeholder in the Nigerian project, you have a responsibility not only to uphold the ethics of the journalism profession, especially in a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society like ours in Nigeria, but to abide by the ideas that will strengthen social discourse, national identity, and rejuvenation.
The journalist holds a sacred office in any country, but with that power comes responsibility, and that is where the problem lies. Some would say this is not a journalism problem, but a national problem manifesting in the profession. For the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria, the 2019 general elections will be crucial in determining the future of the country, and the need for responsible journalism cannot be overstressed. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, Italian court jails 2 men allegedly linked to former Petroleum Minister Dan Etete in the controversial $1.3 billion Malibu oil deal. That will be on Business News. Join us again.